Hi guys, it's Tuesday again, which means you have me, Adele, and this week on Diary of a Genderfluid, we are talking about how we knew we were gender fluid. So, for me, there wasn't really just one single moment where I learned what gender fluid meant and I was like, yeah, that one's me. This one. This one. And, so for me, it was much more of a long, complicated process. It involved a lot of denial, really. So I've always kind of felt uncomfortable being categorized as a girl. I always felt like I should relate to girls more than I did because, if I'm a girl, I should probably feel like I have something in common with other girls, right? And there was just never anything. There were so little connections that I had with female friends on a gender basis. Like, sure, we might be into the same things and get along, but there were never like girl things that I really identified with. And, this isn't really girl things as in wearing dresses or stuff like that. I've always enjoyed presenting in a feminine way. It was more, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. Just a feeling of disconnect. Of course, this didn't really turn into anything until basically senior year of high school, maybe the year before that. And during this time, the feeling of not being a girl kept building up, and I was becoming more and more aware of LGBTQ issues. But as much as I didn't feel like a girl, I also didn't think that I could be trans in any way, because I didn't feel like a guy either. So I was faced with I'm not really a girl and I'm not really a guy. What other possible options could there be? A friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, told me about being genderqueer. And for a while I thought that this was a decent option. But it never really fit fully. So I didn't really take that label on as my own. Then, in my senior English class, I read a book that wasn't necessarily part of the assigned reading, it was part of an optional reading list. And that book was called Middlesex. Now, Middlesex is about an intersex individual. And so their experience was radically different than mine. And yet they did talk extensively about, or at least the book talked about the character. It's a fictional book. The character isn't real. But the book talked a lot about the main character never really feeling comfortable with girls, kind of like exactly the way I felt. And I kind of jokingly, after reading that book, I kind of jokingly said, oh, I'm mentally intersex, I'm not really not a girl, it's just kind of all in my head, which, as if you know anything about gender, yeah, it's in my head. That doesn't make it any less legitimate, but so I kind of went around with that for a while, with the possibility of thinking that I might be genderqueer, but not really liking that term or anything. And then it was my boyfriend, who I'm really still close to. He's always kind of gotten my gender better than anyone else. He introduced me to the term genderfluid, and I kind of just felt it out, and I was like, no, I'm not, maybe I'm not that. you know, I'm just mentally intersex, which isn't really a thing. That's not actually a thing, but I just couldn't get it out of my head. And so I eventually started identifying as gender fluid. It's not a particularly exciting story, but I think that's kind of how it is for a lot of people. You feel out other terms, and when you don't find something that clicks, you kind of just keep moving on to different things, hoping to find a word that is good to describe you. So yeah, that's just how it was for me. That's about all I have to say on the topic. And if you guys ever have suggestions on what we should talk about for a weekly topic, it's always open, you know, just leave it in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. And I guess I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.